Mother's Day, it is around the corner, everybody, and this year you can surprise her with a homemade breakfast. Christy Rost shares a recipe that anyone can make.
Hi, I'm Christy Rost. Breakfast bruschetta with blueberry compote is an impressive treat for mom's breakfast in bed. But you'll want to hang on to this recipe for beautiful spring and summer brunches too. Traditionally, bruschetta is toasted bread with a savory topping, but today we're making a breakfast version. So I'm using 2 cups of blueberries. These are berries that I froze last summer, but you can use fresh or frozen blueberries. And I have 1/4 cup of sugar and 3 tablespoons of water. I'm going to bring this mixture to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce the heat a bit and simmer it for about 7 to 8 minutes until the berries get soft and the mixture begins to thicken. And then I will remove it from the heat, let it cool, and it will continue to thicken as it cools. While the blueberry compote is cooling, I can make the toast. So I have a rustic loaf of artisan bread that I sliced into 1/2 inch thicknesses. And then I cut each slice in half to make it more manageable to eat. Brush each side of the breads lightly with oil. In this case, I'm using a blood orange infused olive oil, which is going to give it a nice extra layer of flavor to the bruschetta. Then I preheated the oven to 425 degrees. I'll bake these for 5 to 8 minutes on one of the upper racks of the oven, turning the bread halfway through so that each side is golden brown. Once the toasts have cooled, spread each with a thick layer of ricotta or softened cream cheese, just like this. And you know you can make the toasts a day ahead, and so that's a great time saver. And you can also make the blueberry compote 1 or 2 days ahead. Then top the cream cheese with a spoonful of blueberry compote. And make sure you get just a little bit of the juice in there too. And garnish with a sprig of fresh mint. Just gonna put a single leaf there. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Arranged on a platter for Sunday brunch or on a breakfast tray for mom. Breakfast bruschetta with blueberry compote is a delicious way to begin the day. Take care, make some joy.
All right, if you want to make Christy's breakfast bruschetta with blueberry compote recipe and more ideas from her, just go to the website, christyrost.com, and while you're there, you can also get a copy of her cookbook, Celebrating Home.